Good morning and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube, Iyun Benzion. Today's daf is Nazir daf Tedvav. The Mishnah on Tedvav is where we started today. Tedvav and Aleph. Harei Nazir l'ksheli bein. He makes two different kabbalas, two different acceptances upon himself of a Naziris. One is he's saying he'll become a Nazir, a regular standard Nazir, a 30-day Naziris when he has a son. And then he says, Nazir mea yom. Unrelated to the first Naziris, I'll also be a Nazir for 100 days. Now, we've said many times, these are two distinct types of Naziris, two different Kabbalahs, right? And they have to be fulfilled independently. So the Mishnah continues, No lo beinat shivim, if he had the son within 70 days, lo hifsid klum. He didn't lose anything. La'akar shivim, soser shivim. She'ei tekalachas pacham shloshim yom. However, if he has the son on the 71st day, soser shivim. It ruins the first 70 days. Soser means it ruins it. It dismantles the first 70 days. Because if you have on the 71st day, right, you observe 71 days of your 100-day Naziris, and then you have to interrupt for your son, right, because your son is what you said first, so the 30-day Naziris, then you only have 29 days remaining. 29 days is not good enough because you need a 30-day growth. You shaved your head at the end of the period for your Naziris of your son, so you only have 29 days, so theoretically, seemingly the Mishnah says, it ruins everything, and you have to start counting the 100-day Naziris all over again. Now, this is not what the article says, which is a simple explanation of the Mishnah. I mean, until basically following what everything we learned until now, right? A Naziris for having a son is different than Naziris for 100 days. Two different days of Naziris. Now, I'm going to read what the article says. How knows ben, right? Nazir meya yom. No little ben. If a son is born to him, ad shivin yom, at any time up to 7 days into his term, he loses nothing. I.e., he observes his son's Naziris concurrently with his own. Meaning, if his son is born on day number 70, right? So he only does the Naziris of 100 days. The last 30 days is both the Naziris for his son and the last 30 days of the 100-day Naziris. This is the Rush's first sensation on 13b. He brings from a Rush, and Tosos also in 13b he says this. La'achar shivim, I'll continue in the Mishnah, in the art scroll, if his son is born after 7 days, so is there shivim. He forfeits 70, i.e., he must suspend his own Naziris to observe his son's. Because there is no head shaving for a growth less than 30 days, i.e., because a term of his Naziris cannot be less than 30 days. Now, in footnote number 5, if his son is born after he's already observed 70 full days of his own term, the remainder of his term is less than 30 days. Right? For example, if his son is born on day 71 of his term, the remainder of his only term is only 29 days. Thus, the son's term will extend 1 day beyond the father's term. Since the last part of the son's term must in any case be observed separately, the entire term must be observed separately. Therefore, the son's term suspends the father's term because of its priority, and he must now observe a full 30-day term for his son's Naziros. After that, he resumes his own suspended term and completes it, representing 20 more days in Yom. He thereby observes a total of 130 days of Naziros. The language of the Mishnah here, he forfeits 70, is difficult, since he actually forfeits nothing. He merely observes both terms consecutively. For this reason, the Rush, the Shittim gets it here, and Tosfos delete the word Shivim from the text of the Mishnah. Moreover, they explain the term forfeits must be understood not as the usual sense of losing what has already been observed, but merely an expression for the suspension of his own term, of which he has already observed 70 days. Once his son's term has been completed, however, the 100-day term is resumed from when it left off. The offering of the head shaver and the son are okay. So, the problem with this is there's many problems with what the art scroll explains. Here, he's coming from a Russian, Tosfos. There must be other Rishonim explaining like me, because first of all, it says the word soser. I mean, he loses it. According to the art scroll, he doesn't lose anything. The question is whether if his son is born 7 days or before, he only has one period of 100-day Naziris, in which case he observed both of his Kabbalahs in the same 100-day Naziris. And if it's on day 71, then for some reason he does 130 days in Naziris. You never worse than 130 days in Naziris. According to what I'm saying, Soser, you lose the entire period of 71 days, and you need not only the 71 days, but then you have 30 days of your son, and then another 100 days of Naziris to start again your new 100-day Naziris. According to the article's explanation, right? If he's born on day 71, so after the sun's Naziris of 30 days, you do a 29-day Naziris. The problem with it is that the Mishnah says, right? At the end of your sun's Naziris, you have to shave your head. So your head is shaved, now you do another 29 days in Naziris, right? But you only have 29 days of growth of your head. That's not enough. You need 30 days. So it doesn't make any sense to say that at the end of 130 days, your Naziris is over because you're shaving your head at 29 days. You need a hair growth. If Ashko want to say what they want to say, you at least have to have 131st day. So you have 30 days of hair growth at the end of your Naziris. Because even though it's a 100-day day period in Naziris, you didn't have 30-day growth at the end of your Naziris, so you need that, right? That's part that we learned in the previous Gemaras. You need Gadol Para. You need 30 days. 30 days is not considered in the possibility of becoming Nazir. As I mentioned before, there's no possibility of Tumah. There's no possibility of extending it longer. So you need 30 days. Otherwise, there's no concept of Naziris at all. So therefore, I don't like the explanation. It doesn't fit in with the word Soser. You're rearranging, you're taking out the word shivim, you're taking the word soser. It doesn't make any sense. And also the Mishnah, that's the emphasis. The emphasis is, because even if you were to make up the 29 days afterwards, you didn't have 30 days. So according to my explanation, it was a chumrah. I'm telling you, it's a big chumrah, according to this. Is that you lose the first 71 days. It's very sad. But then you did 71 days, and then you need 30 days for your son, and they have to do another 100 days. In total, it's 100 days. Plus 71 plus 30, so 201 days. That's a very big chumrah, but that's what it seems to me. We talked about this before, about having, you start in Naziris and the son is born, after 20 days of your 100-day Naziris. So then you can do it because you make up 80 days. It's fine because that's okay, because at the end of 80 days, that's definitely a 30-day hair growth. The 80-day hair growth, that's okay. But here, this is explicitly the case where you're going to have only a hair growth of 29 days, so it ruins the entire 100-day period. Because you can't keep 101st day because you said 100-day Naziris. So you're stuck. That's the whole point of the Mishnah. You're stuck. And therefore you have to resume your soser. It dismantles your entire counting of 71 days, and you have to start a new 100-day period of Naziris after you finish your son's Naziris. That's the explanation I would like to say. I think that's the truth. Hope you enjoyed today's share. See you in the next one.